Hello, this is Bratt from Eurogamer, and it's an absolute delight to introduce Julian Gollop, the creator of the original XCOM, Chaos Reborn, and soon to be the creator of Phoenix Point. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going great. I'm very tired.
Yep.
I'm very busy.
It's the last day of E3, but we've managed to, you've managed to make some time for us to take a look at Phoenix Point and in its early stages.
Very, very early stages, yes.
Yeah. When do you have any idea when this game is going to be a thing that people can play? Is there even...
Yes, we have a plan.
Yeah.
We have a plan. It will be ready sometime in 2018.
Okay, cool. Well, we will look forward to it. But before now, we can get an idea of what to expect, I guess. We've just had a brief kind of run through of some of the ideas that you're working with at the moment, and one of the words that keeps coming up is procedural. Procedurally generated aliens sounds new to me. So what does that mean?
It's brand spanking new, and what does it mean? Well, the aliens themselves originate from a virus, a microbe, which infects human beings and other Earth-based species, both in the sea, land and air, and is able to combine them in different ways and multiply and magnify elements. So you will see some very, very weird combinations of creatures. Some of which will be really nasty, some of which might be a little bit on the experimental side for the aliens, but the idea is that the aliens will always go through a mutation process once they start losing battles. And if they then develop some kind of creature which is successful in battle against you, the player, they will just start making more of them. So it's entirely based on the principles of evolution.
That sounds very cool. So is that how you're going to handle the kind of the difficulty ramp, I guess, in this game? These mutations are reacting to the player's success.
Exactly. Yes.
That sounds very ambitious. How do you see it working in like a basic setup? So if you
I can give you an example. Let's say, for example, you've developed some really good incendiary technology because the aliens just happen to be very vulnerable to fire.
Yep.
So the mutation mechanism they might go through is there's a random element to it. It might be something that could just completely avoid that, something that burrows under the ground and comes up.
Okay.
Or it might be developing a particular type of armor or carapace which is just resistant to fire, or it could be creating a very, very fleshy creature that just doesn't stop when it gets burned. It's kind of, there's several ways that it could do it. And it won't always give you the same response. And sometimes the alien mutations might not work very well.
Right.
So
there is an experimental nature to it.
Yeah, exactly. So via the principles of evolution, it will arrive at something. And it does mean also that depending on how the player, how you as a player actually play the game, will result in a different gameplay experience because you'll get a different set of aliens.
So I guess, will every player see something slightly different then, I guess? Just because of the nature of how that will and can work.
Yeah.
That sounds very exciting. The enemy design in Phoenix Point, just from the early stuff that we've already seen, seems to be one of the coolest things that you're talking about. The size of the enemies as well is something that you're keen to
We're going to have some
massive
monsters in this, which will scare the living daylight out of you because, as I said earlier, the aliens also magnify in scale. Something, if a giant spider-like creature does well, why not make it bigger? Why not make a really big one?
Like creature.
And the aliens have this huge advantage in terms of just sheer biomass. They can generate, mutate, and multiply. Actually, at the start of the game, the player has the advantage in technology.
Right. Oh wow, this is a switch around then for XCOM.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got the advantages in technology and research. You also control the skies, even if you don't control the seas.
Sure.
So basically, the aliens control the seas. You control the skies, and the land is contentious because you have this alien mist which comes from the sea and it starts to encroach on the land. And it infects people, and it harbors the alien minions that are sort of operating within it. So it's a completely asymmetrical warfare in a sense. Right. And you have to use things to your advantage, and this clash will result in kind of like a leapfrogging in terms of, one point they might be ahead, and then the other point you might be ahead.
Absolutely. So like in past XCOM games, obviously, you've always tried to get that idea across that the aliens are not necessarily unlocking new research, but unlocking more powerful units as they arrive into the battle, and that's how the difficulty works. But this time it actually sounds like both you and the alien forces are trying to outlearn each other, I guess.
Exactly.
That's sounds good.
Very good, yeah.
And so outside of the battle, actually no, one more thing about the battles themselves that we did see, I just wanted to mention with these large creatures. You've kind of introduced a new aiming system that you linked almost to like the bat system in Fallout, where you're targeting certain areas of the body.
It's very similar, but it's used. You have to use it in like a squad-based fashion because these are very large creatures. So you need to target a particular point, and you need to get in the right position to shoot those elements. And you need to work as a combined squad to do this. So you may shoot out the alien's face, but it might drive it mad. You might start going, might not kill it, it might make it more dangerous.
It's just, it hasn't got a face, but it's very, very upset.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, that sounds cool.
So you have to you need to actually, with each of these creatures, you need to figure out how you're going to take it down. It's not just a question of, find the right weapon and reduce its hit points to 0.
Nor is it, I guess, just the case of flanking to increase an aim bonus. It's actually, you want to be in this position so you can actually see the bit of the body you need to shoot.
Exactly, yes.
That sounds cool. All right, and moving on to the Geoscape side of things, the other half of an XCOM or a Phoenix Point game.
Yes.
This looks a little different too. So you're going back in some ways to the original XCOM formula.
It is. You've got a rotatey, spinny, zoomy globe thing.
I'm a fan.
So it's actually based on some elements from XCOM Apocalypse, where you had a city with different factions and corporations, and they all had their own diplomatic relationships with each other. They had their own resources and technology. So in Phoenix Point, the world is divided into a number of factions which control these isolated havens. And because humanity has become so isolated from each other, they've developed off in different directions. They've got their own ideology, their own agenda, their own technology. Let's
talk about the cult. I think that's a cool example.
Yeah, so
one of these factions is sort of interested in alien life in a way.
It is a
sort
weird,
of creepy way.
Yeah, it's a bit creepy. It's a weird, wacky religious cult called Advena Domine, and they have alien DNA with humans, but still retaining human consciousness. They've actually developed their own technology to do this. Now, either by allying with them, trading with them, or just trying to take them over militarily, you will be able to use their technology for your own soldiers. So that's one example of how relationship with the factions can have a very distinctive effect on the actual path that you take.
But so some of those relationships will be conflict then? You will be fighting at times human factions then?
There will inevitably be conflict, and particularly because the factions themselves will be fighting each other. So if you make an alliance with one,
it sort of draws you into...
You have to defend them. If you don't defend them, you lose the resources that you're getting from them, which you need.
Sure.
So an alliance carries with it responsibilities in this case.
So if you want our weird alien combining tech, you're going to have to stick up for us in a fight every so often.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, it all sounds very interesting and very new. Obviously, there are going to be comparisons between Phoenix Point and XCOM 2.
Sure.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but some of these ideas we have not seen before, and I'm eager to see how they work, even if it is in 2018. It's okay. You don't need to rush. It's all right.
Okay.
Yeah. So why did you want to come back to this type of game? I guess so. You're not even done with Chaos Reborn yet. So I guess it's still in.
We're still doing updates on Chaos Reborn.
Sure.
Yeah.
But why this type of game? Why did you want to come back?
Because so many people keep asking me to do it.
Right. Good answer. Yeah.
And of course, I think we reached a stage in terms of our development as a studio that we're ready to take on a more ambitious project.
Sure.
So I have always wanted to come back to that original XCOM formula in some way, some shape or form. And I think we've now got the capacity to do it. And I think we've got also some great ideas and a great design, which is going to be distinctive still.
Yep.
And literally any fans of turn-based, tactical, squad-based shooters with strategic elements are going to really enjoy it,
cool.
I'm sure.
So what are the plans for Chaos Reborn at this stage?
Well,
You're still wearing the t-shirt?
Yeah. We are, we've got a number of things in progress. The next update, actually, which will be coming next month, we are going to do something highly experimental
Right.
with the core mechanics of
like
the
that word.
engine,
Okay.
and we're going to have basically no RNG mode,
Right. Wow. Okay. So, as in,
which we call the law mode. And the reasoning behind this is that the RNG is almost like a religious division. And so the group of players who really enjoy and appreciate and understand how this works and how to do it.
Sure.
And there's another group of players who just can't deal with it.
Yep.
So the question is, okay, if we change the mechanics in this way, does it mean that the players who can't deal with RNG can now, appreciate what we've done with the game in a different way? So the mechanics are different. So the content's all there, spells there, the basic.
How far are you going with that? Are you talking about the cards that you'll have in your hand, or the actual cast percentage, or?
Yeah, two elements. So the casting is based purely on mana cost rather than
Right. Okay. Wow.
And there's a mana mechanism already in there. And the combat is again, it has a hit point based system, and it's just based on the relative
Attacks versus health.
attack defense.
Right.
So a relatively simple change for us to make, but highly different experience from the game point of view. And so we need to do some work on the AI to cope with that. So that will be our next release, and we've got two very interestingly and distinct game modes there.
I do. So when did Chaos Reborn actually have its official release?
In October 2015.
And when did it have its early access sort of release after the Kickstarter?
In December 2014.
I love that in 2016, halfway through 2016, you're still tweaking around and being like, you know what, we should do like a really different mode.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds cool. Awesome. Well, that speaks well to your stellar development, and hopefully that will go into Phoenix Point, and we'll see more of that over the coming years, I guess.
Yes, sure.
Thank you very
much. Thank you.